Morning, David.
Morning, Bill.
There I am.
There you are. I thought I might see you here today.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I never did tell you, did I, how things went? No, I don't think I did.
No.
Um, Good news, was not cancerous. That was that was the big cloud hanging over things.
Uh-huh.
So he said the cyst that I had is the kind that has a tendency to recur, Um, and if it does, then he will have to probably take some teeth. But I'm free to go about my life for 6 months unless something interferes. So,
Well, that's good.
Nice.
Hi, Adam.
Hey, good morning. How are you
morning,
guys?
Adam.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. All right.
It's better than bad.
That's right. Better than bad. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Good.
What did you have? What did you have, Bill? It was a cyst in your mouth?
Yeah, upper right, and it got infected.
Hmm.
And the cyst was so dense. It was about the size of the tip of your little finger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, didn't hurt or anything. It was just there. Obviously not supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so dense that the CAT scan couldn't really see behind it. So when he went in and took it out, then there was a lot of infection going on around the roots of 3 teeth.
Uh,
Oh.
And so he scrubbed it out. He said the infection had started to gnaw away at the bone, hadn't gotten very far. But obviously, if it recurs, then he's going to have to get rid of the teeth because it's, they'll always,
Wow.
yeah. So they're anywhere from 1 to 3 teeth involved. So,
uh,
Boy.
no pain or anything. But obviously I didn't want it to be cancer. So I'm,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, certainly not.
Yeah.
Until, until the pathology came back, that was a possibility. So
A concern.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad that's not the case. Geez.
Yeah. Absolutely. So,
always something.
yeah.
You're right. Feels that way. That's how it
Things,
goes, right?
things straightening out at work, Adam?
Are we recording?
Yes, we are. Sorry.
Yes, they're just fine then.
Oh,
How
okay.
about that? Yeah.
I got it. I got it. All right.
Yeah. They're
Never
okay. They're
mind.
okay enough. Just a little difficult. With the new unit, we hired a bunch of travel nurses, which is fine, but there's really not travel PCAs,
Yeah.
so for like the nursing aides and techs. So we don't have any techs to staff the new unit, which is making things challenging because it's a higher acuity than one of my other units. So
Yeah.
people are going up there, and it's a little bit tougher work. But then there's also no techs to help. So it's a tough time in the hospital too. There's a big influx of psych patients right now.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of patients there for suicide ideation,
Hmm.
which we have to have a one-to-one person with them. Someone has to stay in the room and watch them at all times.
Yeah.
That's like a state and federal regulation. And so like on one of my units, 4 out of 14 beds all are that. I mean,
Wow.
Wow.
the unit usually only has 6 people staffing it total anyways. So now you have 4 people who have to sit there one-to-one with you. It leaves not a lot of people to actually do the work for everyone else. So
Yeah.
that's causing a lot of challenges.
Yeah. I would think so.
Now, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a post-COVID thing or just sort of coincidence that all these folks are in at the same time right now, or Valentine's Day blues. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of psych patients in right now.
Wow.
Any profile on them? Are they young?
No, it's a mix, a real gambit,
Okay.
Yeah.
Morning, Joanne.
Good morning, David, and everyone else. I'm getting it together here.
Oh, good.
I mean, I've been waking up and actually already reviewing notes, so I'm less discombobulated than maybe I look right now.
You finally got them.
Well, I got the ones, I got the ones from your regular Comcast account, but I have not had time this week to figure out why the others have not been coming in.
Yeah, David, I still haven't gotten them.
Well, you're both.
Not just me. It's not just me.
Well, what's interesting to me is that you're both Gmail.
But that's usually that gets everything.
Yeah, you'd think.
That's not very picky.
So,
Normally,
my question here to Adam and Bill Bynum. Hello, Bill.
Hello.
Hey, Bill.
Have you guys gotten the notes and the video links?
Me.
I'll be honest, I didn't check.
Yeah.
I mean, no
but,
one got them, and I was the only one who checked, or
February
the only one who
9.
got back to you.
Yeah, could be.
It doesn't look like I got them last week.
Yeah.
The-
I do get your invitations, David, through email, Gmail.
Yeah, I have no problem getting them. It's just
Yeah.
really that last one. David tried to send it to me 3 times and it wouldn't come through. But then when he sent it from his Comcast, his personal email, it came through fine. So
Yeah.
what's the deal there? But it's clearly now at your end, David, not just mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for
Why,
me,
I don't
I
know.
got the lesson invitation that was sent out on the 12th.
Yeah.
And I got things with attachments on the 9th. The
Yeah.
9th. I
You
got
got 'em.
a resend and on the 11th.
Oh, so you got them.
Yeah.
You did get them then. You got the same one on the 9th and 11th? Because David, did
I
you
got
resend
2.
every-
Yeah.
You
I got
resent
a
everybody, David?
resend on the 9th of the 9th, I guess, and I got then the 11th.
I am.
Yeah, it looks like I got notes from January 25th, and that was the last notes.
Okay.
Hmm.
I am completely flummoxed. But I will try again.
Maybe you should send them up in one of those balloons that are flying over.
Might be more
Or
successful.
maybe that's where they were.
Right?
Well, I will endeavor to send again from last week, since everybody didn't get them.
Okay, sorry about that.
On the, I may be asking you, David, for some back ones because somehow my download box files got corrupted and I can't access some that I downloaded and looked at. And I may have deleted, but anyway, that's a personal problem. I'll get back to you later.
I have to
Pretty
deal with
pathetic when
personal
our
problems
are-
too.
You're an all services provider, David.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, let us begin here. So, questions, reports? How's your dissolving going?
Good. Do you reach a level with dissolving where it becomes more fluid? I feel like there's the two phases. Does at some point, does it all kind of blend into one thing?
Well, it begins to flow, yes.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by blend into one thing.
Well, I feel like I do it in two phases. I find a blockage and I allow it to go from ice to water. And at some point where I feel like that's done it as full as it can, I say, okay, now I'm going to focus on water to gas.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, yes, there are more advanced stages, which we really address in the meditation class, principally more advanced levels of the meditation class, where yes, you don't go through two steps; it becomes just one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. But it's based on having developed the awareness of recognition and what it means to dissolve in the two-step process.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, that's sort of what I meant last week when I said I was trying not to visualize so heavily, because when you go to water, then you're at water. And then you go to gas, and that's another thing. So I was trying to do what Adam was suggesting, and you just talked about, get it to flow all as one experience.
Well, it isn't one experience to begin with. It really is. Ice to water is really the sense of relaxation of the blockage.
Mm-hmm.
And water to gas is feeling the blockage flow out.
Yeah.
And eventually through your etheric field and out of your etheric field. And it's really two stages to begin with.
Okay.
Unless you are, I will say that I'm sure there are exceptional people who are able to go directly to one stage, but it's
that would be me. Yeah, that would be me.
I definitely was not one of those people. So, but I really encourage you to allow yourself to experience the two stages to begin.
Okay.
Anything for you, Mr. Bynum? How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks. And I did finally last night watched last week's lesson, and it was interesting. We had a pretty busy day here, so I did it, and I was lying down in my bed watching it. And while I was doing that, with all the pressure off my skeleton, I did, sort of the C curve spine thing while watching and listening to your description. And it was an interesting experience to do it without weight bearing
Mm,
on the skeleton.
Mm.
And it was I would say it was easy to do, both from a structural point of view and an energetic point of view. Just lying there on my side doing the C curve and and thinking about that energy down the sides and up the center and up the center and down the sides that you were describing last week. And I practiced some earlier this morning, and it's definitely more difficult to particularly the energetic part, not so much the physical part. But
Right.
yeah, but
That's interesting. Yeah. Sounds like that was a very useful experience, trying it on your side.
yeah, it was. It made me feel much more comfortable finding the place for the C curve, I guess, than I thought it was just sort of a mini breakthrough or awareness of how the C curve should feel.
mhm.
Oh, good. We're going to work on that more today.
Good.
Oh, good.
Good.
Okay, you can send me my setup fee later.
Anything for you, Joanne?
Yeah, I mean, once I got the video, I rewatched it while reading through the notes, which I find helpful. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot there. There was a lot in last week's class, which is why I was so insistent on getting that
Yeah,
recording. Yeah, so I think that the percentages, that whole 70-30, but maybe it's not 70, kind of, working on that. I think I got a little stuck on the part about it only getting to the solar plexus, because I think I'm past that. So I think I kind of got a little stuck there. I mean, got a little stuck thinking why. But then I also, and I think 5 and 6 are very, they're very clear about what we are trying to do. It's just a matter of doing it. But then that's really only a focus on the top half. And I think I disconnect my body too much. And so that's a challenge I have. My top and my bottom. I think we probably all tend to do that because we talked about that a bit, but I
Yeah.
found that a bit more after last week's class.
Good. Yeah, well, there's a lot there.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there. It will be gone over repeatedly.
Yes.
We don't want to get anywhere.
Okay. Well, let us proceed onward. So, the spine is very important in Neigong practices. Spinal work in Qigong is accomplished by learning a layered process, and each layer accomplishes several purposes. By going slowly, it builds in safeguards which prevent overzealous or prideful people from hurting themselves without recognizing that they're doing it, even if they have the most precise and responsible instruction. To set this up, I'm going to give you a story of a fellow named John. He was a student of Bruce's who spent 5 years in India studying meditation, but he didn't have any body component. And he was very clearly doing things that he should not be doing that could potentially cause him problems. And Bruce warned him of this. And John said, well, I'm an exception. All the meditation I did in India means that I can do all of this stuff with my body. And so he goes and does whatever he does, probably not should have done. And what happens, he hurts his back badly, and it takes him 3 or 4 months for his back to recover. Well, many visits to the chiropractor, and then finally things began to balance out again. And what this is, of course, saying is that you can't just say, I'm an incredible carpenter and therefore I can be an engineer. They don't necessarily go together. A skill in one area does not necessarily translate to another. So the spinal work in Qigong is commonly called bend the bow and shoot the arrow, due to the way the spine will make the opening and closing actions when you load and shoot the arrow. When you pull the string back, the bow bends, and when you let the string go, shooting the arrow, the bow straightens. Although God's is the penultimate Qigong program for the spine for various reasons, we'll only show the preparatory safeguards which will heal backs very well, rather than the full opening and closing, which requires live instruction. The great trouble with the spine is that most people don't have a very accurate sense of it, and they will commonly hurt themselves unless it's really drilled into them what to do with the instructions that they have been taught. This has been a problem in China and in America and all over the place. You cannot count the number of people doing yoga who have really seriously hurt their backs, and they've never really gotten back into full health. So there is always the danger with the benefit, and the few do fuse together. So why don't people feel their spines? This has actually been a subject of debate for thousands of years. But one simple reason is you don't see it. You can see your arms and your legs, and you can see what's in front of you, but you don't see what's in back of you. And as a general proposition, the Western educational system does not really include how the spine works. They don't educate people as to how the spine works, which they do in many other cultures. For example, martial arts education does that. Forms of Indian and Chinese yoga will teach you to do that. But it's simply not taught to people. And many things about the spine are not that intuitive. People just go, well, if my spine doesn't hurt, it's okay. Or if it hurts, it's not okay. But they very often really are mystified when they have done something and afterwards they have really bad back problems. I would simply call it a basic lack of good education. So now we're going to be going back to looking at looking at trying to understand that we have 3 giant components. We have your arms, and you have your legs, and you have your spine. And the trick is that you have learned the C-curve and the motion of the spine from the middle of the C-curve, both going to the extremities and going back to the center, is what is going to make your spine move. It's like an engine. The piston moves and it causes everything downstream to move. So it's a very different thing than if you're making your arms and your legs, if you're moving your arms and your legs, and you think that moving your arms and your legs is naturally going to connect to your spine. If you're very, very internally connected, it will, but most people are not. So you have to do something to deliberately make the connection obvious and not vague. So it's a very simple. Your spine is going to bend when your arms bend, and your spine is going to straighten when your arms straighten. The spine is going, the same thing is going to go for your legs. So this really, for some of you, is, of course, repetition. I'm going to change to, I will come back. So when we think about the C curve, we're trying to find where is the middle of the spine. And we're letting the back bend, both the bottom bending forward and the head going out and forward. And so there is that C shape in the spine. And what we're really want to begin to be aware of is the coordination between the spine and the legs at the moment. So when the spine bends, the legs bend. And when the spine straightens, the legs straighten. And because we're really focusing on the sense of the spine causing the legs to move, that means that if you are bending and you get to the end of your bend, the legs stop. They don't continue bending, they stop. And as you straighten, if you straighten clear up and the legs haven't completely straightened, they have to stop because you want them to be completely coordinated. And you're really focusing now on getting the action of the C curve in the spine to cause the legs to bend and straighten.
David, can you do that from the side, please?
Sure. You mean you can't see it? Of course. So as the C curve bends, the legs bend. And as the C curve straightens, the legs straighten. And they're totally coordinated. The sense of as you're going down, and then as you come up, particularly here, as you straighten the C curve, there is a sense of a going down to the feet, but also of the energy rising all the way up to the crown of the head. And remember that you want to make sure that when you come up, that the head does not go back, that it goes up. And that is one of the things that's really important, because when the head goes back, you break the flow of the energy through the neck. So we're simply doing the C curve, causing the legs to bend and straighten. Could you see that okay, Bill?
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Yep.
David, I have a question.
Sure, go right ahead.
Particularly as we're talking about the neck. So I'm assuming that there's also the tuck is involved.
The what?
The tuck. Tucking the lower end of the spine, tucking the
Well,
pelvis area.
that's part of
That's part of the C curve.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we keep talking about the head and not the, okay. That makes the C.
So the the head goes forward and the pelvis goes forward.
That's right. Yeah.
They're both related to each other. Oops. So yes, you want both of those to be moving together
Together.
as well as they are moving the legs.
Yep.
We talked about that. So what I'd like is for you to stand up and try this. And at the moment, not including the arms, just doing the legs. So as you bend your spine, the legs bend. I think Bill's right. I think it might be good if you turn sideways to the camera so I can maybe see your C curve.
Maybe. It's far enough back here.
So Bill Nagel, one thing I would say is don't overdo the head and neck.
Okay.
We're trying to think here proportionally between how much the lumbar area can move and how much the cervical area can move. And you don't want to overdo the cervical area.
Okay.
Your timing looks pretty good, though. So, Adam, your pelvis is going back. It's not tucking under.
Okay. Okay.
So don't focus so much again on the cervical area. Work on balancing. So even if it makes your C curve smaller.
Okay.
So Adam, try doing just the C curve without bending your legs.
Sure.
Yeah, that's better. Recognize how little you're moving. You're very tight.
Okay. Yeah.
So don't make yourself bend forward too much because then extend your neck and your cervical area too much because then that pushes the lumbar area back instead of allowing it to curve forward.
All right.
That looks pretty good, Joanne. Do you feel good with that?
I do. One observation is that when we're back straight, we're not really straight. That there's still a small tuck there. As we're prepared to go back. Is that
Well,
accurate?
we go back to our basic structure, which
Mhm.
is with the sacrum pointing straight down and not
Right.
pushed back. Right.
Yeah, yeah, right. So like with the head, the same as the head, right?
Yeah.
Not push back. Right. Yeah, no, it does feel good.
Good. Bill Bynum, could you take a step forward? You're in front of your bookcase, and if you were in front of the window, I'd be able to see what's happening with your back. Yeah, good. So, Bill, I'm seeing the C curve, but you're also pushing back. You know, it's kind of interesting. This would be a good practice to do against a wall,
Mm.
not with your heels against the wall, but you have to have your feet a slight distance out from the wall, just where your sacrum is just touching the wall, because it shouldn't go back as you go down. It should go down and forward, but you can maintain that connection to the wall, helps you to keep that straightness of the movement. Yours is tending, Bill, to go slightly back. It's not easy. So everybody relax. Any questions or concerns?
No,
No, I think it was clear for me. Yeah.
Okay.
That was helpful though. That's right.
Yeah. So
I do have one.
Yeah.
I was feeling like the vertebrae were expanding, going in both directions. Is that uh
what do you mean
you
by
know,
both directions?
well, I mean, as you're flexing the bow, I feel a separation, and as I'm straightening up, maybe in the top half of the spine especially, but I'm feeling a separation then also.
So
And
ideally, when you bend the bow, you feel the separation in the posterior side of the spine. And when you straighten, shoot the arrow, you feel the opening in the anterior side of the spine.
okay.
So this goes back
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Taoist spine
makes-
stretch.
That makes sense. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
and the metaphor of the bow, when you release a bow, it's a sudden release. There's a lot of energy bowing, but when we're doing this, it's not quite that. So it is.
No, we don't do this suddenly. No.
Yeah.
Our arrow isn't going very far.
Well, if you have adequate energy, it will go very far.
Okay.
Um, so while it's absolutely correct that you can use the legs to move the spine, that's not what we want to focus on now. We want the spine to move the legs, absolutely. Later. Okay. We talked about the head. So when your legs stop moving, your head stops moving. So we're trying to have the coordination so that your energy is going right through the crown of your head, so that by the time your legs are straight, the crown of your head is fully up. And this certainly can take some practice and some time, because what happens to most people is there is a tendency for your legs to move faster than your spine. And so you have to work sometimes for a while getting that coordination to be absolute. So when you're standing with your feet parallel, why is it that sometimes you let your legs get your head to go straight up, and sometimes your legs bending and your spine bending don't arrive at the end point at the same moment? This is because if you take an entire spine, not all vertebrae in the spine are created equal. Some of the vertebrae in your spine could be stuck, some could be slightly out of alignment, and some of them, in some of them, the actual energy flow through them is stronger than in others. And your object is to make all of it even. So this is also an awareness exercise to find your weaknesses. When you're coming up, does your spine all of a sudden go wonky? Sometimes it's really not obeying the commands of your legs all that well. Likewise, there is the point or the place when you're coming up and you're using your spine to move your legs where something is going funny in your spine. So this is not allowing you to move your legs at the same speed. So this is something you have to find, because what you're looking for is a completely smooth flow. And basically, what we're discussing is that you have blockages in your spine, and you therefore have to go a little bit slower to try and even them out. So this is like if you have a group of machines and you have a spring at the end of it that makes other things downstream work. If, for example, you have a pool cue, to the degree to which you move the back of the cue, that's what moves the tip. You don't grab the tip and start moving it, because if you do, the pool cue is going to fall down. It goes from the back, and therefore there is a transference all the way to the tip. And when we are going, when we're moving the spine, the arms and legs move with the spine. The spine has to be the back of the pool cue, and the arms and the legs are the tip of the cue. They are where the focus is transferring to. Now, when most people start, it's like you get a push and the spine goes and then the legs go a little bit. And what you're trying to do is to get that pressure to become completely even. So when the back of the pool cue is moving, when your spine is moving, it is transferring through everything in your body to your legs, and your arms move. Or to get your arms and legs to move together, it's different than when you It's no different than when you have an air pump or a water pump. When you put the air in, all the parts of the ball or the tire or the balloon expand evenly. You don't get the top expanding but the bottom not. They all happen at once. But in order for that to be even, you have to somehow internally get the feeling of the flow that's moving through you so that it transfers through your tissues and causes them to move evenly. So we're going to, of course, add the arms here. And just as we did before with the legs, although now we'll have arms and legs, you want to get all the parts to move together. So one way to approach this is to break it down into little bits so that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can, that's one way that you can practice it and coordinate everything. You can take a pause after each one and feel how those work together. But of course, what we're really looking for is that everything starts and stops together. And that the spine is causing them to move. So every time the spine straightens, you're getting a commensurate equal straightening in the arms. And the whole trick of this is going to be that from inside your body, actually getting the sense of how your spine is connected to your arms and to other things as well. Because as this keeps going on, how your spine is directly connected to your internal organs and your blood vessels and even other things inside of you. But first, you have to get the spine to connect to the arms and the legs. So let's do that. So stand up. And again, I think probably helpful to stand sideways. And I'd like you to start by doing it as I did a moment ago. Break it down into 5 or 6 segments. And so as you bend, just do one and then pause for just a moment and feel where you are. And then go to 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then come up the same way. And remember about your elbows when we be thinking about the arms here. You have to keep your elbows connected to your spine. So don't let yourself lose that connection. Feel your spine moving your arms. And your legs. Feel your spine open as you push your arms out. Really trying to get everything to move together smoothly. The trick is in the timing because we're not used to our spine doing this. But we are used to our arms. We don't immediately get the sense of them moving together. It's like you move one and then the other. You try to really focus on the spine. So again, try it, breaking it down into the 5 or 6 segments. And take a brief pause after each one, both as you bend and as you straighten. And really feel everything stopping when the spine stops and moving when the spine moves. And then do it smoothly. And see if you can keep the spine connected to the arms and the legs. So in this practice, you're really trying to start releasing the tensing of your muscles to try to feel the fluid pressure inside your body. inside the fluid pressure inside your joints and inside your spine, and the fluid pressures between the cells of your body. And you definitely have fluid pressure in your blood vessels. So this whole thing is not about a muscular movement. It's literally changing the hydraulics inside your body. And that's what you're after. That's one reason why, if you are changing hydraulics, you don't have to use any muscular strength. And you will move the tissues of your body, or you can project power away from your body with strength that may be greater than if you're using your muscles. You're changing the hydraulics, you're changing the fluid pressures inside your body. There's a really good book called Vital Circuits, where an engineer takes apart the fluid movements in the body and how they work. He's a hydraulic engineer, and you will find what he does with fluid pressures will help you understand some of what is being said here. Reading that book can be helpful to your understanding the science that could be associated with it. Changing hydraulics is the science of fluid movement, and your body is mostly composed of fluid. What we're looking at is getting the fluid to move well, so we can get the chi that moves through fluids to nourish everything in your body. Okay, so you can pause and sit down. So, any sense of the fluidity of the movement?
Yeah,
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
after you began to talk about the hydraulics. Yes, to really, particularly in my legs, feeling that.
Good, good. So that's a really important awareness, and not only actually doing this, of course, in God's, but doing some of this movement and really
Mhm.
letting yourself develop the clarity of that sense, and then taking it into God's.
I think the other thing that came to me, as you were particularly talking about the connection between the spine and the elbows, was the connection between the spine and the knees.
Mm-hmm.
That just kind of felt, yeah, really in sync. Yeah.
Good, because indeed, those 6 external correspondences are always
Right.
extremely important. So you want the same things to be happening in wrist and ankles, knees and elbows, hips and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot too. And of course, that's what's happening here as you're going through these movements. All of those parts are moving, and they need to be moving equally and in equal coordination smoothly. So it seems like, oh, I can do that. But as your awareness grows, you discover that there's a lot of subtlety in here.
Right. And some of those are obviously things we're already building on, not having to build in.
Right, Right, absolutely, absolutely. Because the fact that you have those awarenesses already makes it possible for you to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So, any other thoughts or questions at the moment? Well, you can have fun with this. I hope.
I hope, yes, and I hope we get the, I hope our email, gets us the,
Well,
the-
we'll see. I can't imagine what has gone on with that.
and that we all seem to be getting the lesson invitation without a problem.
Yeah,
So it's not like none of your email are coming into our Gmail, right? It's really just at least last week, the video seems,
yeah.
for me anyway.
All
right.
And I don't, it wasn't that the notes were any larger than usual.
No,
And the
no,
video
they're actually smaller, yeah.
wasn't any longer. I don't think it was size, and I would have, if it was size, I would have gotten a message.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Always worth checking people's spam folders. You never know.
I did all of that though, Bill.
No,
I
yeah.
looked
Yeah.
everywhere. It just, but David was getting notices that it wasn't coming into me at some point. So
Yeah.
that was the other
Yeah.
piece. I don't know why.
Okay.
So-
Well, it's got to be the Chinese balloon theory then.
I think
Absolutely.
that's what they're here for, to take the Chinese culture back. I thought about that.
Punishing us for trying to take it.
That's right, exactly. Funny.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
dude.
Thank you, David.
So, of course, you want to be doing this in the fall.
Yes, yeah, that was clear, yeah.
Mhm.
And of course, once you get into the form, then, and we've talked about this before, that the action of the spine is constantly changing in terms of subtlety and size and speed, and it coordinates, of course, with the opening and closing. So it's a difficult thing to keep the spine active, but it will be very good for your spine to do that. So I'm not thinking that you probably have any particular questions about that, I'm assuming.
No, I mean, I think there's one other thing I think I just thought of in terms of doing that exercise, and I realized we were repeating it, but I was clearly feeling my muscles. My body's not in the best of shape because of all the other problems I've had, particularly with my knees. They're doing better. While I was able to, at the end of this last one, as I said, really begin to focus on the hydraulics, it was still really pretty clear the work that the muscles were doing. So I think that's something. And I think just, getting my body in better shape again will take some of that feeling away, because it's just, you don't feel them as much as unless they need to be worked on, right?
Yeah.
Right. Where I don't feel that, I don't feel that as much. Well, I don't feel it as well. I don't feel it as much in the form, I guess.
Yeah.
But having to think about, we've done a lot of, bend the bow. We've done a lot of, play people. How does this fit in? It's, with all of it. Yeah. So I think but this is helpful because it just keeps getting deeper.
Yeah, I think really beginning to be aware of this sense of the fluid hydraulics in the body. I really like that concept.
I do feel though, yes, I do too. I'll go back and get the name of the book off the tape, but, how we feel, and I said this, I think at the beginning of class, I feel the top half, I'm more aware of the top half of my body, particularly, as we do this, although today I felt the bottom half far more in moving the fluids than I did in the top. And I think that,
That's good.
somewhat it's just, there's two legs down there, right?
Yeah,
It's just
I hope so.
obviously a different anatomy here.
Mm.
But I think I really need to stop and think about the fluids on the top more.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Yeah, and the
That's interesting.
pathways, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting that you felt that more in the bottom. And I think maybe that's, again, because of our body resting on our legs.
Right.
Yeah, interesting that where we have difficulty feeling the energy moving in our legs, the sense of the hydraulics in our legs is probably a little easier to sense than it is in the upper body.
Well, and I've been having fluid retention in my legs, not my whole body. I mean, I've had whole body edema when I was pregnant, but so I have been working more on my legs because
Yeah.
of that, through Tai Chi. Yeah, have to think about it more for whole body fluid move.
Yeah. I really look forward, Adam, to the next time I have you in my hands. I want to work on your C curve.
Yeah,
Ah.
it feels stiff.
Yeah.
Interesting though, it does feel like there's a strong connection between the spine and the legs,
Mm-hmm.
even though it feels really stiff. So I think there's progress being made, but I think a lot of it is just the muscular structures in that lower part of the spine are pretty tight.
Yep.
That's what I was going to PT for.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I can feel it in those areas, and then the spinal erector muscles going up the sides of the spine. They're just they feel like steel cords going up.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Well, I felt at some point, this is the latter part of doing the exercises, kind of feeling like a little cracking release. And at first I was like, ooh, and then I was like, oh, I think it's just that they were becoming more relaxed.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a painful crack. It was just that kind of release kind of a crack, right?
Yeah.
Like, very subtle, but I definitely feel it. Because I think I can hear it all over the
I didn't notice
At first I was a little alarmed, and then I was like, no, I think that's a good thing.
One question for the C-spine and the form.
Yeah.
Because I'm under the assumption that as you do the C-spine, it needs to be small enough that the weight balance in your feet doesn't shift or move around. So you never do it enough that it's really pulling you off center and pulling you forward.
So that's part of getting the relationship between the top and the bottom. If the bottom is moving a tiny, tiny bit, and that's not terribly unusual since obviously the lumbar area doesn't move like the cervical area. We have to try to find what's the proportional relationship between those two. And so it's very easy to overdo the cervical area, and that will tend to pull you off balance, indeed. So it is a matter of finding the balance between the two, which actually doesn't change, doesn't take you off balance.
Right, right. It shouldn't. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a good sign that you're overdoing the top. Then if you find yourself kind of falling forward,
Yep.
or I guess kind of the opposite, if you find your weight's going towards your heels, then maybe you're really not doing what you think you're doing with the bottom part of the spine,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Like you're pushing the pelvis back then rather than opening up the front of the spine.
I found many years ago, but I still very clearly remember the first time it was suggested that I practice with my back against a wall, and discovered that I didn't have to push my butt back in order to go down,
Mhm.
Okay.
and
Mhm. Mhm.
it at first you discover it seems like you can hardly move, but as you practice against the wall for a little while, you discover that as you release and balance the relationship of the parts of your body, that you can get back to being able to sink eventually as far as you could before without shifting back, pushing back.
Mm.
And
Wow.
just a that's just a good way to practice that and make yourself aware of what you're doing with that.
Okay. Yeah. Have to practice like that.
Yeah. Any form questions for either of you? How is your form, Joanne? Are you able to practice at all?
A little bit. This week was more challenging. I think I hyper focused on wanting to, do gods, and then I had children here for a while, which is
Oh,
never.
Mhm.
I mean,
yes.
a while meaning overnights, right? So that's really, it just went overnight, but still that was, and an 8 o'clock meeting. So I have to say I'm not doing it. I did a little bit, but not doing it as much.
Yeah.
Life is, I think that there's, again, I'm just at a kind of busy time work wise. So it's challenging to, and if I don't do it early, I don't do it, no matter how much I tell myself I'll do it later.
I know. Isn't that true? Yeah.
Do it in the evening. It's got to be I'll do it right now in the morning before I really get going and before everything else is, flooding my head in terms of things.
Yeah.
But no early morning meetings in the coming week. So
Yeah.
yay, and no children this
Whoa.
weekend.
Well, that's good.
If I see them, I'll see them in the day, but not like no overnight. So
Good.
okay, that's part of my yes.
Good. Well, good. Well, I think that's all I have
Yeah.
at the moment.
Okay.
Great. All right.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank
Good
you.
class.
Good
Yes.
luck, Adam, with your issues.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll try and get there in person soon.
Well, when you can, I understand. Absolutely. Don't worry about it. But one of these days.
Yeah.
One of these days we'll all be back, right? That would be
Yeah.
nice.
Sure.
Maybe.
Maybe. David, are you planning on going back to California, given that you had to cancel that other trip?
Maybe in May.
Mm.
Our kids out there are Hannah has graduated from nursing school and just got a job in a neurological unit in a hospital. And actually, I think they're going to perhaps have a 1 week vacation in May that we might go and watch the dog.
Watch the dogs.
Oh. Nice.
I'll let you know when
Oh, yeah,
know.
yeah, we're flexible.
Yeah,
It happens.
I'm getting more flexible as I age.
You have to be. Yes, I have a friend who says, blessed are the flexible, so they shall not be bent out of shape.
True, absolutely right.
It's so true. It's like,
Uh,
I see Gumby when
that's funny.
I like it. I like it.
That's a good one. Anyway, all right, very good.
Okay.
See you later.
All right, guys.
Over there.
Have a good
Okay,
week.
be well.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.